Today I'm going to be making cauliflower cheese. Okay, let's get started. What you're going to need is about 40 grams of butter, about 40 grams of flour. In this case I'm using gluten-free, but you can use regular flour, that's absolutely fine. Going to need about 150 grams of grated cheese. I'm using a mature cheddar. And you're going to need a medium-sized cauliflower, which I've taken the outer leaves off and broken into small sections. You're going to need some English mustard, some salt, pepper, and about a pint of milk. Okay, let's head over to the hob and start making the sauce. Okay, what we're going to need to do is take a medium-sized frying pan and add the butter. Then we're going to put that onto a low heat until the butter melts. Don't be tempted to put it on a high heat because the butter will darken and it will turn bitter. So we want to just let it melt down naturally, maybe encourage it a little bit with a wooden spoon. Okay, once the butter's all nicely melted, we can then add the flour. At this point I'll move over to using a whisk as it helps us eliminate any lumps in the final sauce. So what we need to do now is mix the flour and the butter together, and that will form a fairly thick paste. Again, keeping it on a low heat. As soon as that's nicely combined, we can add a generous amount of milk, maybe about half a cupful to get us started. And then we can increase the heat ever so slightly. We want to whisk that together until all the lumps are gone. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit more heat on, and we're going to steadily add the milk, a little splash at a time, and whisk each time until the sauce won't take any more milk and it remains a reasonable consistency. As you can see there, it's starting to thicken up, so we can add more milk. And whisk that in. You need to repeat that again and again with small amounts of milk until you have a nice creamy sauce that doesn't thicken any further. Okay, that's now taken on about as much milk as it's going to. So applying heat and whisking, that doesn't thicken any further, so there's no need to add any more milk. I've added about a pint of milk or so to this. So we now have a nice, thin, creamy sauce. So now what we can do, add 2 heaped teaspoonfuls of English mustard, a generous amount of black pepper, and a pinch of salt. And then we can work all of those together. You can drop it off the heat at this point. Just spend a couple of minutes working all those ingredients together. Okay, there we are. That's the sauce prepared. Let's head back to the table and add the cheese. Okay, to finish preparing the cheese sauce, you want to add about 50% of the grated cheese and stir that into the sauce and let that dissolve down. If you add it all at once, it just tends to clump up into big lumps and it makes it very hard to mix. So once that's melted in, let's add the other half. And again, stir that in until it's all mixed in. As you can see now, we're starting to get a nice, thick, creamy cheese sauce. We don't want the sauce too thick or there won't be enough liquid there for the cauliflower to wick up the sauce as it cooks. We do need a certain thickness to it, something like that, as you can see. If at this point you find it's a little too thick, you can always add a splash more milk. Okay, that's the cheese sauce prepared. What we want to do now is take a large oven-proof container and I'm going to take out about half a dozen of the bigger cauliflower florets that I can add to the surface once we've poured all this in. So then the rest can just go in the bowl and be spread out fairly evenly. And then we can add the sauce. Give that a bit of a stir around so everything's nicely coated. Then what we can do is add some of the remaining pieces of cauliflower just into the surface with the crown of the cauliflower sticking up, just to add a little bit of texture to the final finish. Okay, there we are. That now needs to go in the oven at about 180 degrees for about 35 to 45 minutes. After about 30 minutes, keep an eye on it. It should be bubbling away quite nicely and starting to brown by that point. Okay, let's pop this in the oven. Okay, there we are, that's fresh out of the oven. That's at about 40 minutes at 180 degrees and seems to be cooked through nicely and the surface has got a nice brown colour. So let's serve it up and take a look. And there we have it, cauliflower cheese. If you've enjoyed today's video and found it useful, perhaps you'd like to give it a thumbs up. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you'll get alerts when I release future videos. Thanks for watching.